Hello, doctor.
Hello, doctor.
Who are you?
I'm someone doing laundry who threw on, something just temporarily.
Well, your collar's half up, half down. Do you notice your collar's like?
I have no idea. This is my father's old shirt. It's a little too tight on me. And this is
Oh.
just some jacket or something I threw on. So I have to do some laundry. I actually made some pasta. I haven't had pasta in a while. I made some cavatelli the other night, and I got it all over my sweatshirt. So I got to do some laundry. So I threw this on. But I want to thank you because I didn't expect you. First of all, it's the first time I think I've ever called you and you answered right away. So that was different. I was like, wow. I was going to leave a message, but
Well, I was sitting here dumbfounded because something weird happened just before you called. So I happened to be right by my phone, and anyway. So okay,
can I ask? Or is it, you don't have to answer. It's too personal. What's something weird? Don't intrigue me. Not answer. What happened?
okay, I'll tell you. It was a new client. So the client was supposed to be, I assumed, on a computer with a camera. So when the client said, I have a computer on, but I don't have a camera, I said, well, could you use your phone? All of a sudden, click, they disappeared, and that was it.
Oh, I hope they don't. Yeah. Well, I hope they're gone. They're going to call you back in the middle of this, or
And if they do, screw them because they're taking like too long, and I'll deal with it later. So
Oh,
just call
okay.
me.
Oh, you're a man of little patience. Oh, sorry, but let me ask: Were they
No,
supposed?
please.
Yeah. Well, they were supposed to be right. Hold on. You don't do 2:15. It would be 2 o'clock. You don't do until 2:45. So, am I
Oh,
screwing
yeah,
up
I
your
have
lunch?
time to get you. Well, at least we can do a half a session. We'll see if we can extend it. So, what's the urgency? What's going on?
There's no. What happens? I told you, my brother is today's the last day. He did like a 13 or 14 day stretch, so he's going to be off tomorrow. And he was going to come on, but we have things we got to do. So I figured since he has a day off and I'm always off, we're going to do things. We got to go out, we got to get his car inspected, we got to do a bunch of stuff. So we got errands to run. So I figured it would be easier to do this today. That way I can,
Right.
run errands
So
for my
I'll
brother.
cancel you for tomorrow.
Please do, yes. Nothing, personal. Just it's his day off, and we want to do errands that afternoon.
That's
So-
okay. Okay, so let's go. Shoot.
Okay, what were we talking about yesterday? Give me a brief send. I think we were talking about what's it called?
You're the memory expert, and you're asking me. Well, you were gonna. Let me see. You're supposed to get a CAT scan for your kidney stones. You have to schedule it, and then we were talking about that. I thought you might actually have oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I want because I did a little research after we said goodbye about oppositional defiant disorder,
Uh-huh.
and I tell you what I found out is this is interesting. I'm just again, I know this is the internet, but here's what it's telling me here. I've heard this is interesting. Relationships between ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, and autism spectrum disorder, ASD. ODD, the oppositional, and ASD, the autism. They're distinct neurodevelopmental disorders that can sometimes co-occur. Here are the similarities. Both disorders involve difficulties with social interactions and behavior. Okay. Individuals may exhibit defiant, argumentative, and irritable behaviors.
Wait, slow down. Stop for a sec. You see, although I know, you've had these crazy incidents, I agree, but actually the vast majority of your social interactions are, I think, probably non-conflictual and like they're okay. Whereas somebody who's kind of autistic, it's across the board, they're going to have awkward interactions with people.
No, I mean, whoa.
You're too good at interactions with people. Now, I know they go off, but okay.
Well, here's why I'm rolling my eyes. Who have you seen me interact with? Well, I've interacted with you virtually, and you've seen me interact with my brother, my mother, and my sister.
Coworkers,
You weren't there when any of that. Okay, yeah, good. Well, with the coworker, okay, the guy who went to break my job most recently. I wasn't trying to defy him. He wasn't even a boss to be defied. He was being oppositional, but
you were being passive aggressive at that checkup.
in response to his, trying to play bullshit games and dominate. It's like we all have to wait in line. I wait for my coworker. You got to wait
but
for
then
me.
you intentionally slowed up. You told your brother that. I remember that very clearly. Anyway,
Slowed up. Anyway.
Okay, so you're trying to draw parallels.
No, I'm not trying. No. This actually is about drawing parallels. Let me just. Here's what I'm getting because you mentioned.
All right.
Okay, all right, and both ODD and ADD again. Like I said, social problems, defiant, argumentative, but they also might have challenge with rules, authority figures, frustration, blah blah
That's
blah.
you.
Okay, now those are the similarities. Those could be either or. But here's what gets interesting. They say in ODD, it's primarily characterized by persistent and defiant behavior directed at authority figures, while ASD focuses on social communication and repetitive behaviors. Like I said, not everybody. Let me give you my little finger. not everybody is hostile towards me, and most of the time I'm not trying to challenge people. Most of the time I want to get along. Like, can't we all just get along? Most of the time I'm trying to get along.
But most of the time you're not dealing with authority figures. You're dealing
Right,
with
but even most of the time it's awkward, not necessarily in a hostile way, but sort of like just not being able to click and communicate with mesh well, gel with people. But what I'm trying to say is actually you might be right. Maybe I am oppositionally defiant. But what this is saying here, this is interesting because I thought it was either or. This is looking at, let's see, co-occurrence. This is what I wanted to talk about, co-occurrence, because studies suggest that ODD is more common in individuals with ASD than in the general population. So they're saying that not everyone who's autistic has ODD, and not everyone who has ODD is autistic, but they're saying that among whatever percentage is autistic, they have a higher percentage of, according to this, a higher percentage of ODD. Let's see, where is it? Yes, it's more common, blah, blah, blah. Estimates vary, but some studies report a co-occurrence rate of up to 70%. And it's unclear why. Is it all genetic? Is some of it environmental? There's overlap. Challenges with social and emotional regulation can contribute to defiant behaviors. So because you have ASD, autism spectrum disorder, and you have this hard time getting along, it can lead to or help bring out that defiance. And I was thinking of that song. Remember, from your generation, do you recall Alice Cooper? Are you familiar with Alice Cooper? Any idea?
I mean, not a fan, but yeah.
He had a song. It was called "No More Mr. Nice Guy." You heard the song? It goes, I used to be such a sweet, sweet thing till they got a hold of me. I held doors for little old ladies. I helped the blind to see. I used to be this nice person. Now I've got no friends. They read the papers. They can't be seen with me. I've been real shot down, and I'm getting mean. No more Mr. Nice Guy. And it wasn't this. The way I always interpreted that, it wasn't, I'm a nice guy. Now I'm going to make a decision to be an asshole. It's, I'm a nice guy naturally, and I keep getting treated like shit. It builds and builds and pounds. I don't have it in me anymore to keep doing this because what's the point? I'm not making a deliberate, I was nice, now I'm going to be a jerk. It's more like after all this mistreatment, because of my autism, it made me defiant. I'm just putting that out there because you might be right. You're trying to make it seem like either or, I don't think you have.
I wasn't trying to make it either or. I already said I didn't think the ASD existed, but
I thought in me or it doesn't exist at all.
No, in you.
Oh, in me. Okay. What I'm trying to say is maybe that's like maybe the neuropsych. Look, it's possible. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not autistic. I'm ODD. Maybe the neuropsych's right, and you're just trying to find some way around it. Maybe you're both right and wrong. Maybe the neuropsych says, I clearly see your autism, but I don't think you have ODD. And you're saying you have ODD, but not autism, when in fact I have both. In other words, different people see different things, because it almost seems like ODD sounds almost to me like it could be the end result. Like, no more, Mr. I'm getting mean. I've been real shot down, and I'm getting pissed now. It's like, after a lifetime of that, I think it's only...
You have a lifetime... Well, okay. No, I can't say that you have a lifetime of ODD. That's true. But you have a lifetime of having trouble with social interaction. That is
which true. Is autism. Yes. Okay.
Well, not necessarily, but I can't deny the fact. I mean, you never had friends. You never were part of a group of friends. You never had a girlfriend. Nope. All that kind of stuff. So there's something there. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's a good argument for autism, I suppose. But such a high functioning autism, and yet you still don't quite get over the hump where you're like just having a successful social interactions.
Right. Well,
but at least they are on a very superficial level anyway, your interactions. Like, it's not like, you make a buddy at work who, later you go to a restaurant, you go to a movie with,
No. Right. I have superficial acquaintance interactions.
Did you ever try to call somebody, from work or somebody you thought maybe could be a friend and say, hey, I'm interested in this movie, or, or play a video game with them online or something? Nothing? You never tried?
Maybe when I was younger, in my 20s, maybe.
Or a student, like
No. I kind of gave up on it. I was sort of conditioned. It was even by the time I was in college, I realized from high school it's a waste of time. So I think I was conditioned not to even try. So the answer is no.
You say a waste of time. Is that because you had failures, or because before you even tried, you decided it was a waste of time?
Because I had failures. I had failures growing up.
What did you try to do? You didn't have like play dates, like with other kids?
Well, when I was really young, but that was my mother would schedule those sort of things with just her friends' kids. No, I had a few like acquaintance friends, and I usually have a falling out. There's when I lived in, there was this one kid down the street. He and I were buddies. We got along, and then at some point, I did something to piss him off, and he didn't want to talk to me. I've alienated a lot of people. Also, a lot of the people, because I couldn't be part of a friend group, I would make friends with people who I think, you said I was narcissistic yesterday. I think I would take the narcissists and the sociopaths because I was just so desperate to have anyone pay attention. I had this other friend who was a total troublemaker piece of shit. My parents couldn't stand him, but he showed interest in being my buddy when I was like, in second, third grade. So I went, I just to have somebody. So I think, like I said, I do think I'm autistic. I think the hostile types sniff it out. And during my childhood, I'd get a few hostile friends who I was just desperate to have a friend. And of course, they were sociopaths. So I think that happened several times.
By the way, that kid who you asked if he was autistic, right?
Oh, at the grocery store, yeah.
Yeah. As far as you know, nobody tried to bump him off because he's autistic. Right?
I don't know much about his existence. I think, he's still young. He's still like 20, 21. Maybe not even 20. I don't know how old he is, 21. And
you have to be over 21 to get killed by somebody.
No, you don't. But when I was his age, I hadn't had these problems yet. You live and learn. I told you, I was bullied more in my 30s than ever in my childhood or in my 20s. I was definitely bullied more in my 30s and was all on the job. And this kid, if you think about it, his mommy came to work. It tells you something. His mommy came to work at the same store. She has a job at another grocery store, the company I used to work for, and she's working part-time a few nights there. She probably needs some money, but also I think it's to keep an eye on him. And of course, as soon as I said, are you autistic? She went into action. She had to, come running and say, he's not autistic. And she gave me a whole laundry list of reasons why he was. He doesn't have any friends and he struggles socially and this and that, but he's not, how could you say such a thing? I'm like, whoa, lady, I wasn't picking on him. Go after the real bullies. But you understand, I would never want to work with my own mother. I wouldn't want, if I had a problem with someone, I wouldn't want my mommy to come and defend me. I'd be embarrassed. I don't think the kid has enough wherewithal. I think part of the reason...
It's normal. What? You just said something that makes you sound normal. Most people wouldn't want to work with their parent. That's true.
I would be so embarrassed if my mother...
Be mortified, I know.
Yeah, if my mother... Why did you say it to my son? I would be so embarrassed, like, Ma, come on. But the point is, maybe that's where, when you talk about these spectrums... See, I look at the end result. The end result's the same. Like, that kid is like me in the end result. Like, we're socially inept losers. Maybe where the wherewithal is, where your wherewithal... I'm trying to say I fall through the cracks because I'm normal enough that I don't come across as obviously autistic. But the end result's still the same. I'm still having the same experiences as someone who is autistic. I'm failing miserably socially. So that's why I get the worst of both worlds. And I get people like you who say, well, you can't be autistic because you seem too normal. And I said, well, if I was normal, I'd be normal. I wouldn't even be talking to you. That's how it feels. Like with the boy at the supermarket, you could say, yeah, he's clearly autistic. But you don't strike me as autistic. Yeah, and that's why I'm getting doubly screwed over. I'm getting screwed over for being autistic, and I'm getting screwed over for not being, getting the free pass. Like, you don't expect the guy in the wheelchair to get up and run the marathon. But maybe someone's who's got, I don't know, arthritis but looks fine. Get up, you bum, get off your ass. Well, their legs are just as bad, but it's not as obvious. Same thing. I'm autistic, but because it's not as obvious, I'm having all the problems. Like the guy with the bad legs. He's got the bad legs, but he's not getting the sympathy that the guy in the wheelchair is. Do you understand my analogy, or am I making sense? That's how it feels, because the end result's the same. Do you see my girlfriend? I mean, introduce my wife and my beautiful kids. Do you want to see all my buddies and my great job with?
You're making these assumptions, which I think hold you back. The assumptions are, okay, let's even say, yes, you're autistic. Let's just say that's the case, just for the sake of this argument. You're saying, okay, I'm autistic, therefore I'm, either neurologically or genetically now and for all time incapable of making successful having successful social interactions. And I'm saying, with that assumption, yeah, you'll give up. It's like learned helplessness. It's like there's nothing I can do, no sense of agency. And I'm saying you can develop a sense of agency and say, I'll overcome this, or I'll find a way to compensate, and I'll have successful or better than I am now interactions. That's all I'm saying.
Well, a couple of things. I know you're going to say I'm young, and I am comparatively because you're in your 70s. No. But like maybe 20 years ago, this would have been a good advice. But I'm over 40. I feel like I'm too old to like try to get that life that you're
Yeah,
You're saying I could have.
you should see this. I don't have it up here now. There's this video by Jordan Peterson. You know Jordan Peterson.
Oh yes, he's one of yours, Canadian.
He's one of yeah.
He's gonna give me advice. Tell me to just clean my room. He's right. I should clean my room, but I don't think it's gonna solve my problems. Is that?
It's not about cleaning your room, but it's actually like a 5-minute video on dealing with aging. I'm talking about like my age level of aging, but it applies to you too. If you want to bear with me, I can find it.
But by all means.
Oh yeah. All right. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Sure.
Because it's worth a watch. Not now. I mean, later if just give me a little more time here.
Sure.
Oh, okay. I think I got it. Hold on. All right, I'm going to give you the link here.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, there's the link. So if you want to look at it, you can get a chance. It's worth a look. It's short.
Most people don't realize
they're. But he makes some really good points, no matter what your age is. I think, even so, it's aimed at older people. But
yeah, I'll put it to the side. I'll check it. Old Age is a Trap Unless You Do This by Jordan Peterson. Okay. I don't know. It sounds like, I hate to say this, it just sounds like a lot of these, what they call clickbait, with the idea that, do this and in 5 minutes you'll be healed of all your problems. It sounds like one of those.
No, he's a little more, he's not that superficial.
Okay. Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I may very well have, because you've diagnosed me now with oppositional defiant disorder, and you might be right. I'm not disagreeing. But what I'm trying to figure out is it chicken or the egg? Is it something I've always had? So my oppositional defiance is why I'm so socially out of step? Or am I oppositionally defiant in response to being treated like crap? Like, no more. I've been real shot down, and I'm feeling mean. No more, Mr. Nice Guy. Is, chicken or the egg? What came first?
Well, I mean, look, I think these things can develop or they can, like you say, like the song says, it's sort of like you can kind of turn, and become more like that.
Yeah, that's I don't think I was like this as a kid. This is in response to what I've experienced in life. Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if we go back in a time machine, I could see little me running around. I'd say, wow, what a defiant piece of shit he was. But I doubt it. I was very, in the past, let me tell you something. I want to explain this to you. When people would get angry with me, and I didn't understand why. They would get, I remember people would get angry with me over things that didn't seem to be that big a deal. Right. And I would think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? I think, what did I do wrong here? Like, why is the librarian yelling at me and doesn't care if that other boy is talking? Why is the teacher blaming me for this when the other kids? I used to get a lot, and I used to think it wasn't, oh no, it was more like gee, what did I do wrong? I used to think, and then it got to a point where, I'm getting unfairly singled out. They clearly don't like me, so they're punishing me with a harsher hand. So you get a little that feeling of, okay, in the past it used to be, what did I do wrong? I'm confused. Maybe I can learn from this. Maybe so the teacher won't be angry next time. Then it got to a point where, the teacher's just singling me out because she doesn't like me to begin with. Oh, okay. So no matter what I do or don't do, I'm going to get this bullshit. So why grovel and say, I'm sorry? Because clearly it's a lose-lose situation. So I think You understand what I'm saying? Part of it was when the teacher was mad at me, I used to think, okay, I must have done something really wrong. Then I saw this pattern, well, the teacher's being more hostile with me than she is with the other students. So, I guess the teacher doesn't like me. So when she gets pissed with me, I'm not going to stop and think, gee, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? Because I realize I'm being unfairly singled out. So I'm going to respond with, screw you. Because if I'm going to be treated that way, how would you react? If it's a lose-lose. It's one thing if the teacher is treating everybody the same and you do something wrong and you don't know why, and the teacher treats you the way she would anyone else, it'd be good to say, okay, I screwed up. How can I learn from that? But when the teacher's treating you a little more harshly than the other students, at some point, the next time the teacher gets angry, for me, it's like, well, I know that this really isn't that big a deal. You're making a bigger deal of it because you don't like me, so you can get as nasty as you want. Fuck you. There's definitely that in response to how I was treated, because I wasn't always, when someone got angry, an authority figure got angry, my first response wasn't screw you. It was, oh, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? My response was, after seeing the disparity in dishing out punishments and punishments not fitting crimes, that I started to disrespect the authority figures because they were coming after me more harshly, probably because I'm autistic and they can tell I'm different, but that's how it feels. But
I'm still a little mystified because you could be autistic and possibly get positive attention because of it too. Why would it always have to be negative in your case? I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I know I kept all the way back to kindergarten. I think I have all my old report cards. Do you have your old report cards?
No, I think I threw them all out at one point because put it behind me.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes a teacher will remark about social stuff, plays well with others. Like I said to you, you don't play well with
As others. I recall, the teacher would mostly write generic crap like, okay. I don't recall any teacher going out of their way to say anything nasty or positive on a report card. Right. It was just very,
That's something too,
but the report card, you have to understand something, especially at the younger ages.
On the radar.
No, but at the younger ages, the report card isn't really for you, the student, especially when you're young. It's for the parents. So the teacher's like, oh, your boy plays nice. Everything's great. The teacher's trying to make nice with the parents.
If you're such a pain and disruptive, you're a pain in the ass and so disruptive in a class that the teacher's going to want the parent to do something.
Whoa. I never said I was disruptive. That's the wrong way to put it. I was never disruptive. In fact, my examples, maybe I didn't spell them out. When the teacher would get upset with me for something, it's like I might be talking to someone next to me. Even though I don't have a lot of friends, I might be saying, oh, hey, quiet, no talking. Meanwhile, the other kid over here is being disruptive. The teacher sort of turns a blind eye, la, 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 that kind of thing. I don't think it was ever disruptive. I think that's why I'm saying I would get harsher punishments for crimes that didn't seem to fit the punishment. And I think, gee, what did I do wrong? And eventually I realized, gee, I didn't do anything wrong. The teacher's just singling me out. So no, I don't think it was ever disruptive in the classroom, like truly disruptive. I think I was treated as if I was being disruptive for a much more minor offense compared to the other students. Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, it's still kind of mystifying. Like, let's say you were a black kid and the teacher was a racist. I could understand it. Mm-hmm. Let's say the kid knew you were Jewish and the teacher was an anti-Semite. I could understand it. But
yeah, you're looking for something. I mean, in my case, that's what I'm saying.
And I don't see why you.
Well, that's why they say autism is the invisible disease. It's like because people can tell there's something different, and others see nothing wrong. You guys are great. We're oblivious. I like them. I like you. Oblivious. And then others pick up something's wrong. This one's not like the others. There's something different about them. Like the antibodies, the killer cells. Yeah. What?
Even if they picked up something wrong, it doesn't mean it has to go hostile.
Well, that's how the oblivious feel. In fact, some of you people might pick up something's wrong, but say, okay, live and let live. But there's this type that says, there's a little deviation. So you're right. In theory, it shouldn't, but there's a whole segment of you people, normal people who do this.
Yeah. But you would think a teacher of all people would.
How many moron, idiot teachers I had. How many teachers didn't like me because maybe I challenged them. Maybe I asked a question they didn't like or whatever, and they thought I was a know-it-all who was trying to stump the teacher or something. That's probably the disruption.
Would you ask a question just to get a rise out of it?
No, not just to get a rise, but I think the teacher, every now and then I would ask a question out of curiosity, especially in the younger, like elementary school, I'd ask a question out of curiosity. And looking back now, I wasn't trying to be challenging, but the teacher might have interpreted it that way because, are we out of time? You're looking around.
I just got to keep up with time, but I'm just checking. It's okay. Keep going.
I was in the middle of a good point. I forget what I was saying now. I forget what we were talking about.
You might say something that would challenge a teacher.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, my intent was not to deliberately challenge, but the teacher, I'm starting to look back, teachers might even interpret it the way. Next time, I'll tell you more about some of my childhood memories if you want. Because I remember this one, I remember my first grade teacher very well. She was fresh out of college. She was young, and I remember she didn't like me, right? Because I guess I wasn't behaving the way she thought students would behave in school, like the way she was taught in college. And I was, I never understood it. Looking back now, that bitch didn't like me. And I think it was probably because she had an expectation, and I didn't live up to the expectation of what a student should be. Ideally, a teacher should say, I want to be a teacher. I know there's all types of students out there, and all types of kids, but I'll give you some stories about, that's one example. I've had other teachers who you could just tell didn't like me. I remember when I was in 11th grade, let's jump ahead 10 years, I was in 11th grade, and this one history teacher couldn't stand me, wrote notes on my quizzes saying, I don't think you should be in this class, you should drop out. We had to take something called an advanced placement test. This was an advanced placement history class, and I scored very highly on the advanced placement test, no thanks to the fucking teacher, whereas some of her darling students failed miserably, but the stupid bitch teacher's telling me, I think you should drop out of this class. She never liked me. Little things like that, and I have other examples over the years. Yeah, if I should have dropped out of the class, then how come I'm doing better on the test than some of your fucking darling students, you fucking bitch? Yeah, that kind of thing. It was purely didn't like me. Yeah.
When you were a kid, did any of the local parents dislike you too?
Well, it's hard to say. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I'm trying to think.
Did you grow up in a neighborhood where there were like a lot of kids on the street, playing and stuff?
Yeah, the town I grew up in was called, and then we moved
blue collar, lower middle class.
Right, and then we moved and rented various houses all over.
With the cops chasing you.
Yeah,
gotta get out of town.
Yep. So that's my. I mean, I don't recall any problems with the parents so much.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign too. Sometimes, parents will say, I don't want you playing with that kid. He's a troublemaker.
Well, it's possible, but I wouldn't. If they said that, they didn't say it in front of me. I don't recall any of that.
Somehow it would have gotten back to your mother, no doubt. And obviously, your mother didn't complain about you, like the complaint to you that parents.
Well, I don't know if she did. Would my own mother have told me? I don't know. We know my mother lies through her teeth about everything, so I don't know. Maybe.
Well, the way you describe your mother, I don't think she'd try to protect you from having your feelings hurt.
Well, I wouldn't want her to, but I mean, let's say, I don't know. Let's just say something like that happened. Like some parent said to my mother, "I think your son is no good. Keep him away from me." Would my mother even say, "Oh, she thinks you're no good. Keep away"? I don't know if my mother would tell me that. I don't know. Not even to save my feelings because she's so secretive about everything. What?
No, I think she might say to you, we need to talk about this. What's going on?
My mother, I doubt it. She's so secretive, and she would probably tell my father, "Daddy, they said this."
You know what? If you ever get a chance and you're civil towards your mother, you may ask her a question like that. Do you remember back when, if parents were complaining about, just for trying to understand things better, maybe she might be able to give you some insight.
Okay, all right, I'll think about it. I'll see.
Okay.
I get the impression she either won't tell me or she might not even remember at this point because I'm starting to think her memory is so.
No,
so
but
good.
then things like that I think would stick out in the memory. I don't think that would fade.
Okay, all right.
Because that would be a source of pride to have parents praise your own child, and if you get the opposite, I think that would also stand out. What is going on here? Anyway, all right.
Actually, are we out of time? I just thought of a story from my childhood.
No, we're not out of time. We're okay.
What time are we going till? Because I don't want to start a story.
We can go to 3:05-ish.
Oh, okay. I remember one time, this one friend I had, quote unquote, he was kind of a troublemaker. At one point, we took a rock and he threw it through a wall at this school. Not our school, but this other school.
You mean a window?
Oh, window. I'm sorry. He took a rock. What did I say? He took a rock and threw
a wall. You said through a wall. I would say, he should have been a Major League Baseball player.
See, my vocabulary is not very good. Yes, the window, the thing made of glass that shatters. He did that. So my mother didn't care for him. And he was kind of a piece of shit kid. But again, these sociopath types, I was just desperate to have any friend. And apparently, here's what got back to me. At one point, I guess his mother, this boy, his name was Christopher. Christopher Nelson was his name. And I think his mother apparently wanted me to sleep over, and my mother didn't want that. So my mother apparently told his mother, she said something like, I forget how she said something weird like, no, no, no. My son can come and play with you or play with your son, but at the end of the day, he has his own bed. She said something. My mother, instead of saying, no, I don't want my son sleeping over your kid's house, she told Mrs. Nelson, oh, his own bed, his own this, no, no, no. And apparently this really bugged Mrs. Nelson. Mrs. Nelson could tell there's something weird here.
This wasn't exactly Ozzie and Harriet.
No, this was not not Harriet Nelson. This, his name wasn't Ricky, it was Christopher. This was like the other side of the Trax family, the cousins from the bad part of town.
Cousins, they don't want to talk about it.
So Mrs. Actually, I went to go see Christopher Nelson once. We were hanging out one day, and we used to get in trouble. We used to just wander off farther than we should. And my mother came to pick me up, and we had wandered. We'd walked to this airport that was nearby. Anyway, Mrs. Nelson was so I guess he was a bad influence, and he was a problem. But Mrs. Nelson was saying to me, she goes, it's so funny. I thought it'd be great if you could have you and Christopher could have a sleepover. Like, it would be fun. Like, I think it was Halloween time.
Maybe she wanted you to be a good influence on her nutty.
Possibly, but the point of the story is that, and she's the one who told me. But I asked your mother, and she was strange. She gave me this whole thing. She said, no, at the end of the day, you have your bed, you have your place. You can't do a sleepover. And I remember thinking, even as a kid, I remember thinking, okay, my mother probably doesn't want me sleeping over here. She probably tried to come up with some weird excuse. And I understand my mother is such a poor liar. I'm seeing these patterns that it came. You could tell Mrs. Nelson thought it was weird what my mother said. And I agree. What my mother said, if this is true, what my mother said to Mrs. Nelson was pretty fucking weird. And so I asked my mother about it. I said, "Oh, Ma, did Mrs. Nelson want me to sleep over?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know." So my mother, and I knew she was lying. So, and while I understand why my mother wouldn't want me spending the night with this sociopathic troublemaker, I think she's probably afraid we'd go out in the middle of the night and do some, walk around town or something. The point is, I guess her excuse came across as strange, which it did. It was a very strange, weird excuse she gave Mrs. Nelson. I wasn't privy to any of that, but I heard it secondhand from the mother, from Christopher Nelson's mother. My mother, I understand. She didn't want me sleeping over. She probably didn't want us wandering out that night. And, we were like 9 years old, 10. She didn't want us wandering out and, doing breaking a car window or something. But the excuse she gave to Mrs. Nelson was weird. Mrs. Nelson was bothered by it enough to tell me. I'm just like this fucking 9-year-old kid. And then, I guess my mother herself, and none of this, I never knew about any of this until Mrs. Nelson told me. And my mother didn't say, Mrs. Nelson wanted you to sleep over, but I'm against it. So, because I wouldn't have fought her. That I would not have. I wouldn't have said, I want to sleep over. I said, fine, Mom. That I wouldn't have cared about. You don't want me to sleep over? I won't. Fine. I would just say, no, my mom doesn't want me to. And, I wouldn't have fought her on that because, honestly, the kid he was there's got to be a term for it. A friend by proxy. He was a friend out of convenience. He used me because he knew I was different. I didn't have any friends of my own. So I was an easy, target or an easy mark or whatever you want to call it. And I was just so desperate to have anybody to be my friend it was a parasocial relationship. So I wouldn't have opposed. If my mother had said, listen, Mrs. Nelson wants you sleeping over, I don't feel comfortable with that, I would have said, that's fine. I'll just tell her my mom doesn't want me to. I wouldn't have, but my mother didn't even have the decency to tell me that. And I had to hear about this story secondhand from the hooligan's mother, Mrs. Nelson. Yeah. Your thoughts on that? So I don't trust anything my mother says. No, I don't believe you when you say it would get back to me.
My thought's not so much about your mother making up weird stories or excuses. It's that maybe it's a clue about how you and your brother became socially kind of retarded.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're socially. I am socially retarded. You don't have to quote. Yeah, okay. So go ahead.
No, because your mother, wanted to keep the very enmeshed, everybody close. She the idea that maybe you'd hang out with this kid or do a sleepover was a threat to, that her need to have everybody, kind of within her controlling, influence. And so that would, possibly affect your social skills or your desire to, branch out and try to, meet other, people or kids and develop your own separate identity away from your family.
Possible. And whatever. I mean, my father was more of the control freak. My mother was an extension of him. So if my father said no, okay, I'll give an excuse. But regardless, whether it was to keep us all enmeshed or because I know my mother didn't care for that boy, and he really was a troublemaker. I know.
I mean, there's that rational side too to it. Yeah, that's not like neurotic.
Well, actually, then again, I remember one time we hung out together and we went for a walk. I mean, we came over. It was summertime, and we went really far in town. And my father was driving by and he saw us, and we got back, and my father was pissed and he started screaming. He said to the kid, Christopher, because my father's also a nutcase. My father says to Christopher Nelson, we're like 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids. You're an asshole. And he looks at me for listening to him. You're a bigger asshole. So I'm starting to wonder if it was like a two-way thing. I bet Christopher Nelson's parents didn't like my father. He was screaming, "Why were you doing all the way down there, halfway across town? Christopher Nelson, you're an asshole. Son, for listening to him, you're an even bigger fucking asshole." So, and he's screaming. This is outside. He's screaming loud in town, small town. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm sure it was a two-way parasocial weird thing. Regardless, my mother never told me the sleepover story. She could have at least said, "Hey, listen, I don't want you sleeping over with."
I guess you develop this identity of being weird by association. Just the fact I've got such a weird father, or weird as being,
Well, and that's where nature and nurture comes in. I said this one. I said, like, if my father has fucked up genes and my mother has fucked up genes, they're below the normal social threshold, but they're normal enough to function. They get together, have a kid. The kid gets his mother's fucked up genes and his father's fucked up genes. So now he's doubly fucked up. Yours truly. And in addition to being doubly fucked up, these assholes have to raise me. So now I got my mother's fucked up genes, my father's fucked up genes, and these two fuck ups are the ones raising me. So nature and nurture. But no.
Well, I'll tell you then. Therefore, I must be even more oblivious than you think, because I think you're probably way more normal than either parent. Thank you.
And
your brother too. In some ways, you guys are way more normal. And then if you got your sister who's really functioning pretty well, the three of you. Okay, I know the fact that the behavior and the problems you're having got to say something about your functioning and your difficulties. But I still think it's overcomable.
Well, I've heard those stories about people who say things like, "I grew up with in a religious fanatic household," or "I grew up with a military father who controlled my room," or whatever. And wow, I finally got away, and now everything went to normal. My problem is that as fucked up as my household was, things were never normal socially. Where there's those people. My father was a religious fanatic. They wanted to pray to the moon or whatever. I grew up in a nut house. As soon as I got out of it, now I'm just living a normal life. I got a job. Socially, everything's fine. I have the childhood trauma from growing up in a nut house, but I'm able to function among people. I got a fucked up household, but even out in the world, it's like I can't just function. If I could have gotten out long ago, I would have. It's almost like I can't escape the disaster that is my existence, because it's like even out in public I'm not treated normally by people. You ask why I don't have a better job, why I haven't been promoted,
some people you should be careful with the generalizing.
Well, I think
some people it's weird, I know, and I know you got your theory, and maybe there's more to it than I realize, but as far as the hostiles, I don't know. Still strange.
Very, but
still mysterious.
It's strange to you because you're oblivious, and it's a part of life that most people never have to deal with. But I live
every
day. But
when you did get that evaluation with that other neuropsychologist, did you? So you obviously gave the history where you've been attacked and everything.
Yes.
Did she offer any explanation or any did she comment on that in any way? Or she
not
collecting data.
She was collecting data because she's not there to listen to me talk about my problem. She's there to take things down. So she noted all that, and she told me about her father. She said, "Do you have another few minutes? I want to tell you the father's story."
Yeah, a few more minutes.
She told me, because remember this lady who diagnosed me, she was about 10 years older. She's probably in her 50s, and she was short, kind of plump, about 5'5". She's not a very big gal by any means. And she starts telling me that she believes her father, she's in her 50s, her father's in his 80s. She believes her father has autism. And she diagnosed him sub rosa, but he doesn't know, he's never been diagnosed. And she was telling me that, when people misunderstand him, he just brushes it off. He says, that was weird. Like when he has these problems with people, he just sort of brushes it off and says, well, it's that person who's weird. But no one tries to attack him. So I said, that sounds like me. I used to just think that person's weird until I had all these problems. Tell me, is your father a big guy? Is your father And she looks at me. She goes, yeah, how'd you know? Because this woman was not in Amazon. There was no way I could tell by looking at her that she came from a big father. But when she says, my father has the luxury of just brushing it off, I said, is your father a big guy? Yeah, he's like 6'4", and he's a big booming voice. In church, I used to hear him. He's a terrible singer, but he loved to sing in church, and I would hear him loud. Yeah, he said, how did you know that? I said, because your father's autistic, but at his height and his size, no one's going to challenge him, either out of fear or because of that, ingrained, the tall guy can't be wrong. Just like the behemoth who threatened me, they get the benefit of the doubt. So your father has the luxury of being autistic. He can just brush off people and say, that person's weird. It's not me, it's them. Me, I'm only 5'9". I don't have that luxury. People say, there's something different about him. Who the hell is he to challenge me? Yeah. So I was able to tell, your father's a big dude, isn't he? He can get away with it. And she was shocked. She's like, I never.
It's funny. I don't know why I had this impression that this person, the evaluator person, for some reason I thought she was like young in her 30s and attractive. I don't know where.
No, she was 50s. I wouldn't say she was hideous. She was just very plain, ordinary looking.
Because I was thinking like she's young, she's naive.
Because you don't like the diagnosis. Yeah, because you don't like the diagnosis, so she must be some teeny bopper. I understand. Yeah, okay, right.
Okay, so this was a fairly seasoned, I guess.
Yeah, she actually had a job. She was telling me she had her office, but she also had during the day job at the hospital, working in the neurology department. So this wasn't just some hack, trailer, just fly by night operation. No, she was she had her day job in the hospital, and then she had her office. She
didn't just get out of graduate school.
No, she was
the first guinea pig she had.
She was over 50. Yep.
Oh, okay. Surprised. I don't know where I got that impression.
Because you didn't agree with the diagnosis, so you thought it must be some kid who doesn't know what she's doing.
Yes, my own bias.
Yes, your own bias. But no, she wasn't there to listen to I told her things, but she listened, but she wasn't there to discuss the. She's like, okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Is there anything? So now, when we started the session, I see you wearing this jacket. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's got to go to court.
No, I'm doing some laundry. I got one of these, and I got a brown one. I threw them on yesterday. And this is my father's old shirt that I found. I'm like going through things. I'm like, oh, so I just threw this on because everything.
Although then when I looked at the shirt, I said, no, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Why would you go to court looking like you're sort of halfway there, but not quite?
Yeah. It was like business in the front, party underneath.
Yeah.
Like this does look kind of this V-neck.
Somebody's autistic.
Yeah. Well, there you go. See.
Oh boy. So what else? Anything else?
I thank you for seeing me today on short notice.
It worked out for me too, so it's okay.
Cool. We got another couple minutes, or should we schedule? You want to get that out of the way?
I can give you another 4 minutes.
Well, I'm trying to think. I was intrigued by the oppositional defiant disorder because, I see what and I might have ODD. You might be right. Maybe it's ODD, not not ASD, or vice versa, or maybe it's. But apparently, they're not mutually exclusive. So I'm
it could be both.
Right. I could see ODD coming about as a result of being ASD. That's how I was looking at it, because I was looking it up last night. I'm like, wait, it doesn't say they're two separate things, and I don't know.
I wasn't implying they were two separate things, but to me, where you get into trouble that's more obvious is because of ODD type behaviors. That you don't follow the rules, you defy the rules.
Well, hold on. Like I said, the guy who strangled me in that liquor store, that nigger bitch who tried to run me over, and more recently, the guy who wanted to break my jaw, none of them were authority figures. None of them had authority over me. They were just people. I mean, they had no authority. They might have wanted to have authority, but none of them were authority. So what is this trouble with?
The most dramatic examples, that's true, but you still gave examples where, like a manager or boss start to get annoyed with you, or even the delivery job, your boss was already annoyed.
Oh, he already hated me, yeah. No. But see, again.
And in spite of the fact that basically you were a good employee, he was very quick to get rid of you.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this goes back to chicken or the egg. Is it that I pissed him off with my ODD, or he didn't like me to begin with, which of course, like I said with the teacher example, the teacher is mad at me. Okay, maybe what did I do wrong? Let me try to learn from this. Oh, the teacher's blaming me again when she lets others get away with murder. Okay, the teacher clearly has a bias against me. In other words, was I pissing off the boss, or the boss didn't like me to begin with, which in turn pissed me off? That's how it seems. Like the boss made up his mind, I don't like this guy. So I was getting crap from the boss early on, before they even hired that tall behemoth. I was getting flack from the boss, not because of my defiance, but because he just didn't like me, which prompted me to be defiant in response, like asshole. Yeah.
The way you described this boss, it sounded like he kind of had a generally gruff kind of exterior and was not a very pleasant person to begin with.
Oh, no, he was not pleasant to begin with, no.
Right. So I don't know that he didn't like you any more than he didn't like anybody else. It's just that you'll pick up on the authority figure who seems like he doesn't like you, and then it's going to go from there, and you're going to keep noticing things until you're totally convinced that he doesn't like you and that you're singled out, and then then it all goes downhill. But if you had a more positive sense of things like that, people actually may like you, you might just dismiss his kind of nastiness as, well, this is the way he is. He's an asshole, but not just to me, but to everybody, and it's not my fault, and there's nothing about me.
Well, no,
There might be a whole other take on it, just like you were saying, a big guy like that the evaluator's father, who would just dismiss everything. But you're going to have a confirmation bias that authority figures don't like you. And then the guy might be a jerk to begin with, has nothing to do with you specifically, but you're going to see there you go again. Another boss doesn't like me.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and maybe it's true, but I can see that the boss, early on, the boss is treating me differently than others. And you can say, well, you're the new hiree. Maybe he's tougher than hirees. No, I could see there was, possible. Right, so it's not the boss is being an equal opportunity asshole. There's an over hostileness towards me. And I'm even trying to be nice at first, trying to be nicey nice with the boss.
Yeah, what sample size did you have to observe other new hirees and how they were being treated? I don't get much of a sample size to really see whether you really were treated differently. And, I'm not.
Well, they did. Well, first of all, okay, the behemoth who threatened to break my jaw, he was hired after me. The boss didn't like me before that guy came along, and the boss let him get away with threatening me publicly.
Yeah, but doesn't mean
boss
he liked the guy. He might have been, figured like this guy's not worth getting.
Right, like the neuropsych's father who can get away with these things.
Right.
Yeah, okay, fine. Lucky him. But what he's doing is fucking. It's wrong because you're getting upset. The boss is getting upset at what he's hearing, but he's blaming me for it. Whoa, you don't like me, that's fine, but it's almost like, what, if somebody, I don't know, clogs the toilet and I'm outside, you're going to blame me? If I'm out on the road and someone knocks over some shelf, you're going to blame me because I'm not, it's almost like you're blaming me for something that's obviously not my fault, you fucking asshole, yeah.
Okay, all right, but I got to stop here, but I'll just say, if you remember what happened with Zelensky and Putin and Trump didn't go after Putin, he went after Zelensky, even though it was probably Putin, because Putin's got the nukes. So he's going to go after the other guy. He can push around easier, and it sort of applies to.
You told me once I should go to the Ukraine for some reason, become a mercenary. You still think I should do that? I don't know why you said that. You said I should. Remember, you told me this. You're like, you should go to the Ukraine.
I don't remember that at all. If you say so, okay.
I think my brother was here that day. He remembers. I'll have to. Okay, but all right. So anyway,
I don't remember that at all. I don't know why I would have said that. I was probably being sarcastic. I don't think I was being serious.
I couldn't pick up. I'm autistic. I couldn't pick up on the sarcasm.
Oh yeah, I think you're pretty sharp. I think you pick up on sarcasm. What about Tuesday at 6:15?
Yeah, that's fine for me. Is that too late for you? 6:15 is okay.
No, I have two people after that.
Well, that's going to be really late for you. I feel bad for the 8:15 guy, but okay. Tuesday 6:15, that works.
And then I guess Friday at you want to do 2 o'clock?
Sure. Okay, so we're gonna do Tuesday at 6:15, and then Friday at 2.
Yeah.
Because did you give your lunch break? Because then you don't do a 3, you do a 3:15. Your lunch break is 2:45. I just killed your lunch break. I feel bad for you. Your lunch is more important than my therapy. But
yeah. Okay, don't worry. I can run my own life. Don't worry about it.
Are you sure? I'm not so sure. I'm here to help, doctor. It's a two-way street. No, all right. I will see you next Tuesday at 6:15. Sounds good.
All right. Very good. I'll see you.
Okay.
All right. Bye.